What if the villain of myth was never a villain at all? What if chaos itself was not a curse, but a cosmic necessity? What if the god the ancients feared was the very force that kept the cosmos alive? This is Seth, Lord of the Red Desert, god of storms, violence, turbulence, and thresholds, a force older than kingdoms, older than dynasties, older than the line between order and disorder. For thousands of years, storytellers painted Seth in red ochre and shadow, a murderer, a betrayer, a monster. But myths are mirrors, not histories, and every mirror has two sides. Today we step into the desert wind, into the stormlight, into the deep-rooted, misunderstood truth of the god they called Lord of Chaos, not to fear him, but to understand him, and in doing so, to understand ourselves. The desert rises like an ocean of fire, a place where wind speaks in a broken language and the horizon bleeds into itself. In this realm of dust and danger, Seth was born. Seth was not a gentle god. He came into existence with teeth, thunder, and defiance. His domain was everything Egypt feared: storms, droughts, wild animals, sudden violence, the unknown lands beyond the Nile. But the ancients also understood something deeper. Creation requires destruction. Life requires friction. Order only exists because chaos presses against it. This is why Seth belonged in the great cosmic story: the struggle between Seth and Osiris, the rise of Horus, the tearing and mending of the world. But far above these earthly dramas, Seth played a far greater role, one that few retell, yet every ancient priest knew. Every night, the sun god Ra sailed through the underworld on his solar bark, and every night, the great serpent Apophis rose from the abyss to devour the light. No god dared face this cosmic dragon except one: Seth. Standing at the prow of the bark, spear in hand, eyes burning like volcanic glass, the god of storms would fight the serpent of chaos, not because he was order, not because he was virtuous, but because only a chaotic god is strong enough to face a chaotic monster. The priests believed that without Seth, the sun would never rise. Chaos protects the light. Chaos preserves creation. Chaos prevents annihilation. The myth of Seth was never meant to be simple, because reality is not simple, because we are not simple. Myths survive because they are symbols. Symbols survive because they speak to what words cannot explain. Seth is not just a god, he is an archetype. He represents disruption, transformation, inconvenient truth, the breaking of illusions, necessary upheaval. Seth is the storm that clears the air. He is the uncomfortable teacher, the force that says, move, grow, evolve, or be devoured by your own stagnation. The red desert symbolizes isolation, challenge, exile, the landscapes we encounter when life pushes us beyond comfort. Seth's strange animal form, the Seth animal, represents the unclassified parts of the psyche, the impulses we pretend not to have, the desires we deny, the anger we suppress, the strength we hide. And his role in the solar journey reveals a paradox older than civilization. Order cannot survive without chaos. Too much order becomes tyranny. Too much chaos becomes destruction. The universe requires both. Across cultures, this paradox appears everywhere. In Mesopotamia, the storm god Ninurta battles monstrous forces to preserve creation. In Vedic India, Indra slays Vritra, the cosmic serpent blocking the waters. In Norse myth, Thor fights the giants to maintain balance. In China, Gong-Gong's chaos reshapes the heavens. Different names, same archetype, same cosmic truth. This is why Seth endures, because he is not just Egyptian, he is universal. Carl Jung wrote that every human carries a shadow, a mirrored self, a reservoir of denied emotions, unexpressed desires, hidden wounds. Seth is the shadow god. He is the part of the psyche we are taught to ignore, the rage we swallow, the courage we refuse to acknowledge, the boundaries we fail to set. Every time we say, I shouldn't feel that, we feed Seth. Every time we repress conflict to look polite, we silence Seth. Every time we avoid truth because it might disrupt our stability, we exile Seth. But what happens when a god is exiled? He returns as a monster. This is projection. Jung described it as the mind's attempt to outsource the parts of ourselves we cannot face. We demonize others because we refuse to meet the demon within. Seth becomes the villain, not because he is evil, but because humanity fears its own shadow. But Seth as an archetype is not simply the shadow. He is the guardian of thresholds. He appears when you must defend yourself, you must break an old identity. You must face a fear you have avoided. You must confront injustice. You must let something die so something else can be born. He is the force that says, enough, step forward, stand up, transform. The hero's journey is not possible without him. No Osiris without Seth. No Horus without Seth. No awakening without confrontation. Before Seth was demonized in later periods, he was honored. Feared, yes, but respected. Pharaohs carried Seth's power. Warriors invoked him for courage. Kings used him as a symbol of strength, foreign power, and unbreakable will. In the Old Kingdom, Seth was not the enemy. He was a protector of Ra, a guardian of the king, a deity of desert travelers, a divine force that warded off chaos spirits. Temples to Seth existed in Ombos and Avaris. Rituals offered incense to calm his storms. Priests understood him not as evil, but as unpredictable, and therefore essential. Only later, during political shifts, did Seth's image darken. Myth can be rewritten by power. History can sculpt gods into shapes they never were. Yet even in his demonization, he remained necessary. The Egyptians could destroy his statues, rewrite his stories, and silence his worship. But they never removed him from the solar bark, because they knew the truth. Without Seth, the night devours the dawn. So what does Seth mean today? In a world obsessed with positivity, Seth tells us the truth about darkness. In a culture that avoids conflict, Seth teaches strength. In a society that fears change, Seth demands transformation. Seth is the storm in your life that forces you to evolve, the breakup that woke you up, the failure that redirected you, the crisis that made you grow, the anger that taught you boundaries, the chaos that revealed your truth. Spirituality without confrontation is fantasy. Awakening without disruption is illusion. Light without shadow is incomplete. Seth calls us to embrace the full spectrum of our humanity, not just the gentle parts, but the fierce parts, the protective parts, the primal parts. He asks, where have you been too passive? Where have you refused to act? What truth have you avoided? What part of yourself have you demonized? Chaos is not your enemy, it is your threshold, and every threshold leads to evolution. The desert wind softens, the storm fades, night recedes, and on the horizon, the first blade of sunlight, the bark of Ra rises once more, because Seth stood his ground, a god misunderstood, a force misnamed, a shadow misread, but essential, powerful, necessary. And now, ask yourself, what part of you have you been calling a monster, when all along it was your protector? What inner storm have you been fearing that was actually guiding you toward transformation? What truth have you avoided that now demands to be faced? Seth does not promise comfort. He promises clarity. He promises strength. He promises awakening through fire. And as the sun ascends, lighting the desert gold, one final question remains. If you met the storm within yourself, would you run from it or would you stand beside it? Like Seth at the prow of the solar bark and rise with the dawn? If this journey into the desert of myth awakens something in you, if Seth's story revealed a truth you needed to hear, then step further with us, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and become part of this growing circle of seekers. Those who hunger for ancient knowledge, those who feel the archetypes stirring, those who know that myth is not just history, but a mirror. Share this video with someone who needs strength, someone facing a storm, someone standing at their threshold. Walk with courage, walk with clarity, walk with the storm at your side, because the journey never ends.